Gave a ride home to my boss. Huge mistake. I'm 26 and male and I work at the local big box store. Sucks, I know, but I haven't had much luck entering the career I studied for. I worked a closing shift last week and I noticed my boss having car issues and asked if he needed a ride. I drove him home and it was really awkward. He just talked about work and I get the sense it's his entire world. As I dropped him off, he says, pick me up here tomorrow at 7 a.m. I was like, yeah, sure, because I thought he was joking. He proceeded to tell me that his car will need to be taken to a mechanic and he needs a ride tomorrow at 7 a.m. I reluctantly agreed. I've been driving him into work for over a week, and he has gone so far as to change my shift schedule so that I start at the same time as him every day and get off at closing. He has me off for 4 hours in the middle of the shift so I don't rack up any overtime hours. Yesterday, while driving him home, which is 15 minutes out of my way, I asked if he could pay for some gas. He went nuts. Said that I should be glad to even have a job and that I should be grateful for being able to make a connection with someone who is in a powerful position inside the company. I need the job, but I don't know what the heck to do. He hasn't even told me when his car is expected to be fixed. Life sucks. From the old angry anus. I made my boss over $1.5 million in commission over 2 years, while I made $45,000 a year. For Christmas, he got me a $25 gift card to a movie theatre chain that I would have to drive to another state to even use. When I put in my 2-week notice, he called legal on me while I sat in his office. I worked my ass off for this man, essentially running his entire book of businesses for him. For Christmas, he got me a $25 AMC gift card. The closest AMC theatre is an hour and a half away in another state. That pissed me off and made me start looking for other jobs. I genuinely cared about my job and the account, so I waited to accept a job offer until I had trained someone else to do my job. When the time came, I met him in his office and told him that I'd accepted another job and that I was putting in my notice, but to not worry because I have already trained someone. When I told him that I'd accepted a position with another company in our field, but would not be doing the same thing so it wouldn't violate my non-compete, he called our chief legal office on speakerphone while I sat there. The CLO tells me that I cannot even mop floors at a company in our field for at least a year. The CLO adds HR to the call, and HR tells me that since I won't be pursuing my new job, they are going to let me work 2 more weeks to make sure the handoff goes smoothly, and then I will be fired for looking for other jobs. They asked me for more details as to what I would be doing at my new job, and I told them I wasn't going to discuss it. After I left, the CLO of this company, a company who brings in $6 billion a year in revenue, called me randomly for the next few weeks trying to intimidate me. They even started contacting my new employer. Luckily, I don't work for a shitty company now, and the CEO got involved and told them they would be ready to fight this in court. They stopped contacting me after that, which means they never even planned on taking me to court. They just wanted to scare me into quitting my new job. Fuck companies like this. We don't have to put up with this shit anymore. Our next story is from Traveling Logan. Asked for a raise, got fired. Today, I asked to meet with the VP of Ops at my job to discuss a possible raise. After being blown off twice, we finally sat down. I told him what I wanted, and his response was, "Or what?" I was taken off guard by the response, so I said, "We'll see, I guess." I then asked him why he doesn't think I should get it. He proceeded to explain how he'd love to give everyone $100 an hour, but it has to be even and fair across the board. I reminded him that I'm not asking for $100 an hour. At my job, which is a team of 4 people including a manager, I'm the only one with knowledge of how to fully operate the production line. I've trained others in the past, but nobody stayed long enough to do it on their own. I told the VP it doesn't make sense for me to be making the same as the new hire who doesn't know anything yet. He said that's unrealistic. So now I had to remind him that for the last 6 months, not a single finished product would have left the facility if it hadn't gone through me. At this point, he began to belittle me and tell me I'm not special and I'm no superstar and that anybody could do my job. I said, okay, where are they then? I'm the last one left. All these other people have not lasted. He said that's the wrong perspective to have. I asked, what would you do if I wasn't here? He said they'd figure it out. So I said I think this conversation is over, you've made yourself clear. I then went out into the shop to continue prep for the day's run. The manager brought me back in where HR was now present. The VP stated as soon as I walked into the office that effective immediately my employment has been suspended. I said go fuck yourself and went to grab my keys. They all followed me out, proceeding to tell me I'm handling this wrong. I approached the VP and said, I asked you for a raise to be compensated fairly and your response was to fire me. Go fuck yourself, you fucking idiot. Posted by 8-Bit Morals. My manager told me during my performance evaluation that I really don't do anything, so I resigned. I'm a project manager on medium to large civil projects in Hawaii. About a month ago, I asked for a raise greater than the inflation rate, more than 6%. They offered me a maximum of 2% and scheduled a performance evaluation for October 28th. During that entire evaluation, I felt that it was 100% to justify not giving me a raise that's in line with the record profits the jobs I manage are getting. My supervisor asked me what do I do for the entire 8 hours of the day. He wanted me to account for all my time. What do you do all 40 hours during the week? He said. Because jobs pretty much just run themselves. Yeah, the 6 jobs just run themselves. Before the meeting was over, he said that if I didn't justify my time, he was going to fire me on November 24th. So I left the meeting, went to my office and turned on let recruiters contact me on Indeed and LinkedIn. Within a week, I had 4 interviews and 1 offer. In 2 weeks, I had 2 offers and had them making bids. I had plans to quit without notice, but I live on an island and is a revolving door in my field. So I submitted plenty of notice on November 5th and made my last day November 24th. I have been copying my boss on all emails and correspondence since November 5th to ease the transition. Today he came into my office and asked me what I would need to stay additional time. I said that they have to make it worth my time. He offered me a full month of salary for 2 extra weeks. Wants me to stay until December 10th. All I said is I'm pretty sure you guys will manage without me. The jobs pretty much run themselves, as you said, and I already accepted a position starting the 29th. I've been thinking about it, and the amount that they offered me for 2 weeks is more than what I asked for an entire year of work. All they had to do was give me the original 6% I asked for. Posted by Alternative Hunter 34. My company's late and sick policies are biting them, and now they're crying about it. We'll do the late policy first. We have to clock in at a machine, and in the past the rule was if you were late, you'd lose money in 15-minute blocks until you clocked in. Management started crying because suddenly no one who was late by less than 10 minutes. Generally stopping to grab a drink or have a cigarette on the way in because, well, they've already lost the pay, right? And they decided to take action. Now, you lose an hour's pay the moment you're late. I don't know anyone who's been late by less than 55 minutes since that came out. Whole focus groups happened, and people pointed out that heavy-handed policies invite exploitation. We asked how they expected people to, who for whatever reason were running late that day, work for no pay, and they just shrugged. In the end, anyone who knows they're going to be late for work now knows to just slow down and relax. Grab a coffee, stop at the shop. No rush. Well done, management. Now, on to absence. Absence was a fairly big issue a few years ago, and they didn't like it. Action time. On top of a 2-day no sick pay rule, they now have a no excuses disciplinary policy. 2 days off, and you get a disciplinary. Standard chain of disciplinaries that leads you to getting sacked. The problem is, now, if I get sick and I'm off for 2 days, I might as well make the most of it. I'm in no more trouble for being off longer. There's no maximum time, whether it's 3 days or 18 months. I come back and I get a stage 1 disciplinary. So I've done my 2 days unpaid. I'm now getting my sick pay. It's been a while since the last holiday, and there's a long slog to the next one. How much time can I afford to have off? Again, focus group. Heavy-handed policies invite exploitation. Shrugs. If you're going to beat us for minor infractions, which sometimes can't be helped, we're gonna make our infraction worth the punishment. Overall, the company noticed a trend of 10 to 15 minute lateness and 2 to 4 day absences, which they didn't like. After having brought in new policies to combat this, the company now has a trend of 45 to 55 minute lateness and 1 to 2 week absences. Further policy changes are being discussed. I can't wait for the results of that. From Cal's K. They fired me because I got COVID, then needed me to fix a machine only I could fix in this country. So this was 2 years ago, and I'm not American. I worked at a factory as a mechanic and operator of a very high-end machine. One time, this machine broke and no one, including me, could fix it, and they had to bring an engineer from abroad to fix it. The engineer only spoke English, and I was the only English speaker in the company. So I was of course the person to help him and at the same time learn everything I could about how this machine worked. This guy was so nice and basically was teaching me everything he could while disassembling and assembling the thing, and I learnt a lot about it. On his last days we had to work 35 hours straight because his flight was due and there was just so much to do. If he didn't finish, he would get in trouble, and I probably wouldn't have a job either. Before he left, he told me that there was a part that needed to be replaced when it broke, taught me how to change it, and promised to mail it to me when he was back at his country. And he did. To my house, not the company. My manager and the owner were so happy about it. They were very grateful, although not very much money-wise. And I felt so secure because now I was the only person in the country who knew how to fix this machine that was vital to the company. So fast forward a year. The pandemic broke out and I wanted to stay home. The owner and manager pressured me into going anyway. They found a loophole and bribed some officials into giving us all essential worker status so we could go legally. I thought long about this and thinking that I would be unemployed if I didn't go, or maybe dead if I went, at the end I got influenced by the wife and went to work. I went to work on Monday and on Friday I had a fever, got tested, and was positive. Having COVID has easily been one of the worst experiences I've had, and I wasn't very far from dying. Weeks later, after I was finally well enough to work, I returned, and was fired on the spot. They didn't even let me go inside to get my stuff. They had already hired someone to operate my machine. Things were really tough being unemployed and now also weak, and somehow we got by. About 6 months later, I got a text from them saying that the machine had a failure and they needed me to come in and fix it. They offered a rather high sum, over a month of my former salary. A co-worker phoned me and told me that they were desperate, and to ask 4 times that amount, they would pay it easily. I didn't know what to do. I had the piece they needed, and the knowledge to replace it. They tried to get the engineer again, but flights were cancelled. They tried following instructions, but they couldn't communicate. And they were missing a piece they didn't even know they needed. I had them by the balls. I spoke to my friends and family about it, and they pressured me to bleed them and enjoy the free money. But after thinking about it, I decided not to help them. The money would have been nice, but something told me they didn't care about money. They did what they wanted and threw money at problems to solve them. But I knew I could be the one to get them out of their damned privilege bubble, and I did. They are now selling all the equipment, machines, and stock. Without the machine, they couldn't be competitive and went broke. Today I have mixed feelings about it because old co-workers are now unemployed.